We're back in Elko County this week, people, back in the northeast corner of Nevada with a new property really unlike anything we've listed before. This is a large, sprawling property in a very rural setting. Of course, what that means is you've got no neighbors, a lot of privacy, picturesque wide open space, mountainous backdrop, and big blue skies as far as the eye can see. Perfect for a home, perfect for a ranch, and perfect for the type of buyer, we'll say, makes their own way in life. That describes you. Stay tuned to learn more after the intro. All right, people, as noted, we're back up here in the northeast portion of Nevada in the county of Elko. Of course, Elko is a massive county, occupies a lot of land, so it's important to differentiate exactly what part of the county we're in. Today, with the subject property, we're over here in the easternmost portion of the county in a region called the Gamble District. Now, Gamble District is a bit sprawling, it is a bit large, it is a bit difficult to define. I will, however, try to ballpark it and tell you that it occupies most all this region just south of Nevada State Road 233, just north of Interstate 80, and just west of the Utah County line. Of course, there is a good portion of it that bleeds north of the 233 and just north of Interstate 80, but realistically, it's occupying pretty much all of the eastern part of the county. The subject property sits in close proximity to the small blink and you'll miss it town of Montello. Of course, in Montello, you've got a post office, a gas station, a convenience store, and little else. Fortunately, guys, about 30 minutes south of the property, you've got the town of West Wendover, Nevada, and the sister town of Wendover, Utah. These, of course, would be the more logical place for groceries, supplies, medical services, and general recreation. West Wendover, it should be noted, is home to a number of casinos, bars, and restaurants, and Wendover boasts a few notable sites, including the Bonneville Salt Flats, as well as the historic Wendover Airfield used by the U.S. military during World War II. Now, while the county of Elko is, of course, home to the town of Elko, it should be noted that due to its size, there's still a considerable distance between the subject property and the county seat, roughly about an hour and a half here along Interstate 80. And while this may be too far for casual daily trips, it should be noted that even greater resources, of course, will be found there. In fact, boasting a population of roughly about 20,000, Elko is home to a number of big box stores, Walmart and Home Depot, as well as fast food restaurants, bars, and casinos. In addition, the town offers major medical services in its Northeastern Nevada Regional Hospital, as well as air travel through its Elko Regional Airport. Of course, plenty of schools, parks, and churches can also be found in this quaint western community. With all that said, people, let's get back to talking about the Gamble District. So, the Gamble District is not the name of a formal subdivision, but rather is named for the original rancher who subdivided and sold off the seemingly thousands of acres that comprise this area of northeast Nevada. Now, because of this region, unlike a lot of the properties that we list, does not have the same structure that a formal subdivision might. There are no covenants, there are no restrictions, no HOA, no annual dues, and no time limits on building. Now, despite lacking the formal structure of a subdivision, keep in mind the property is still part of Elko County and is thus subject to county zoning ordinance. This property is zoned R1 or single-family residential, which means it's designed, quote, to provide and preserve low-density residential living areas reserved predominantly for the development of single-family dwellings. And that means that while this property may be ideal for a ranch or a farm or a 1- or 2-story house, shipping container home, or a mobile home with a permanent foundation, it could not be used for RV living or camping. Theoretically, that's per the zoning ordinance, okay? Mind you guys, you're going to see a lot of exceptions to the zoning ordinance. If you look at the home sites that are developed in regions like this, you'll find a lot of people who are using RVs. They do seem to be camping for long periods of time. I'm simply relaying to you what the zoning ordinance says. To learn more about the R1 zoning designation, if you just come up here on the website and click on this link right here, it'll bring up this PDF in a separate window where you can read more about that and just get a better sense of exactly how the county outlines what the land can and cannot be used for. Of course, as always, guys, if you have further questions about this, we recommend reaching out to Elko County Planning and Zoning directly. With all that said, people, the subject property we're going to talk about today here is a 40-acre property located here just east of Pilot Road. This main road that you see connecting the I-80 down here to the State Road 233 up here is one of, if not the only, main roads in this region. Fortunately, if we go to satellite view here and zoom in, you can see that the subject property sits not just to the east of it, but to the immediate east of it. And there are a couple of developed home sites here, 2 developed home sites that look pretty well lived in. This one looks like it's in the process, sort of under construction, if you will. These two home sites have carved out on the legal access of the northern part of this property and the southern part of this property. Carved out a kind of road out here, accessing both lots, accessing this third lot, and of course, upon the northern legal access of the subject property, accessing this property. Now, it should be noted, guys, that if we go to the plat map right here, what you will see is that the subject property is a 40-acre parcel, so it is 4 times the size of these neighboring home sites. So just to give you a sense, this is a 10-acre parcel, this is 10, this is 10. The subject property is 4 times the size of that. So if you look at the plat map here, it'll give you a little bit of a sense of that and how much bigger that is in comparison to its neighbors. Additionally, guys, if we go to the photo gallery here, you get a sense of what the surroundings are like out here. This, of course, is Pilot Road. As you can see, Pilot is a well-maintained dirt gravel road that can be navigated really by any vehicle type. Additionally, going up and down the road, you've got power lines out here as well as underground utilities. Should be noted, guys, the two properties that are closest to the subject property have power at them. They also have underground utilities, but really there are a lot of home sites, particularly just south of this region, that are developed out here that have power lines throughout the region as well as these underground utilities. So the power and utilities that you see out here are actually servicing a number of homes in this area. They're actually more available in this region than they are in other parts of this Gamble district. So it's one of the advantages of this particular property. Now, despite its rural setting, there are a surprising number of signs in the region advertising high-speed internet service available through HughesNet. Additionally, there is a rather large cell tower within the area, which seems responsible for the excellent service our photographer reported during his time at the subject property. Additionally, as we go through the photo gallery here, you can get a sense of some of the nearby developed home sites. Of course, nearby is a relative term because all of these properties out here are so large. Whatever the case, here's one very close to the subject property, which, as you can see, has power lines at it. Additionally, this photo right here is of the property, is of this home site right here. And then this photo is of the developed home site that sits right here. Point being, in both of these, you can see that there are power lines going out to the subject property, and they are most likely being serviced by underground utilities. Logic would dictate anyway. Additionally, of course, you can see some of the other nearby developed home sites within the region. It should be noted, guys, that also here in the photo gallery, we've got a picture here of the road frontage along Flying Scotsman Road. If you come back to the map right here, you're going to see the Flying Scotsman sits just south of the subject property. Now, of course, in these videos, I like to point out the legal access to the property. I like to point out the logical access to the property, which would be right here off of Pilot. Keep in mind, however, you're in a region where there's a lot of undeveloped land, a lot of land that may be owned by somebody else but is not being used. And additionally, if you go to kind of map view right here, what you're going to see is this region, this whole Gamble district, really all throughout this part of Nevada, is carved up into a lot of 40, a lot of 80, a lot of 160-acre parcels. And when this was carved up, it's reasonable to assume that more people were kind of navigating this region by horse rather than by car. So the emphasis at the time that this was created was not necessarily on named roads or driveways. Every property has legal access, but finding that legal access is a little harder for some parcels than it is for others. With this property, of course, my speculation is that if you want to come in here off of Flying Scotsman Road and find a path up to the subject property, you can probably do it. One may very well exist from trails that have been carved over time, either by horses or trucks or dirt bikes or dune buggies or whatever. Some of them may be more logical, more intuitive than others. So if you got a GPS and you're going out to the property, it's probably going to tell you to come in this way. But if you actually end up owning the land, you may find other points of ingress and egress, we will call them, whether it be here off of Flying Scotsman or off of this K Street road that runs this way. It's really the kind of thing that you figure out over time. Point being, we at least want to point out that in an area like this, you probably have alternative paths to the property if for whatever reason this is one that you don't want to utilize regularly. As we go back to the photo gallery here, what you're going to see are some more photos of the property. Of course, the first thing that you get a sense of is this nice, flat, buildable piece of property, easy to build on, easy to park a vehicle on. Of course, you've also got the beautiful scenery out here. As noted earlier, the wide open spaces, the magnificent blue skies, and of course, the sort of majestic mountains that are just off here in the background. As we go through the photo gallery, of course, you get an excellent sense of these and exactly how sort of picturesque the surroundings are out here. Additionally, guys, do want to point out that while our photographer was out here, he also discovered these guys on the property. Actually found them pretty much all the properties while he was out here in this region. These, of course, are pronghorn antelope, which will be your new neighbors out here on the land. They, of course, really are all throughout this region. It's this species is, of course, very big out here. There's a lot of them in this region, and of course, you're going to find them all the time on the subject property and within the surroundings. Anyway, guys, with all that said, I will let you peruse the photo gallery on your own time. That said, we do have a drone video that's going to be down here at the bottom of the page just to give you a better sense of the property, the terrain, and its immediate surroundings. With all that said, people, if you would like to purchase this property, you'll be glad to know that we closed on it through WFG National Title Insurance Company, which not only means that we receive title insurance, but that we will be conveying it to you with clear and marketable title. To initiate this process, come up here to the top of the page and click this Buy Now button, which will take you to this secure checkout, where we ask for a non-refundable, people, let me say it again, non-refundable $500 earnest money deposit. Now, to be clear, guys, this is not a property that has any financing offered. This is not a property where we're doing monthly payments. This is a property where we expect you to have the entire cash price. So if you do not have the entire cash price, you should not initiate this transaction. For those of you who do, however, here's the way it works. Come down here, give us the name for the deed, name for the contract, your mailing address. Then at the bottom of the page, agree to the terms of service, click next, and on the very next page, you can enter credit or debit card information to place the $500 deposit. Now, to be clear, guys, this is an expensive property. Really, anything north of $10,000, we encourage our buyers to close through a title company on. Of course, you don't have to do that. Nobody's got a gun to your head. It's up to you. But when you're spending this kind of money, we recommend getting title insurance. And of course, one of the major benefits here for you, the buyer, is that with a title company, you've got a third-party intermediary who is not only handling the conveyance of the property, but also the disbursement of funds, meaning we cannot touch your money until such a time as the property has been deeded into your name. Now, if you're unfamiliar with how that whole process works, you'll be glad to know that on the listing page, we've got this helpful Notes About Purchasing, which goes into a little more detail here. But more helpfully, it links you to some pages on the website, which will go into even greater detail about this process. The first page is called How It Works Buying From Us. And if you go here, you can see exactly how this process plays out. Step 1, you place that deposit. Step 2, we're going to draft a contract. You sign it, we sign it. And step 3, the title company will do the rest, albeit slowly and over the period of about a month. And in case you're at all skeptical about placing money before seeing the contract you'll be asked to sign, you'll be glad to know we have a copy of our standard sale purchase agreement right here. You can click that and read through a generic version of what that contract looks like. It's a pretty easy contract, one page for signatures. If you got a lawyer in the family, have them give it a look-see, but it's pretty self-explanatory. Additionally, guys, if you haven't been through the title escrow process before, you're probably going to have a lot of questions about it. You'll be glad to know we have a page on our website entitled Title Escrow Frequently Asked Questions page. So if you click on that, it'll take you to this page where pretty much every conceivable question we have ever gotten from a buyer or will ever get from a buyer is answered here. Questions about benefits, questions about potential drawbacks, timeline, schedule, logistics, so on and so forth. So we encourage you, give that a read. In conclusion, guys, glad to finally be listing property like this on the website. We've been trying for some time to get sprawling acreage like this, particularly in areas with fewer restrictions than we normally find in a lot of the more formal subdivisions that we list in. Of course, as noted earlier, this property's got zoning, but it's in Elko County, which means you're in the Wild West, which means you're going to be able to do a lot of things that you can't do elsewhere. And of course, in doing that, you've got these great sort of sprawling landscapes off in the distance here. You've got the beautiful mountains, the breathtaking scenery, these gorgeous blue skies, and these magnificent sunsets. So I really like these, really glad to have them up on the website. Hope you agree, and thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you in the next video.